Let me say a big warm welcome to everybody that is with us right now on various social media platforms. And to congratulate you for deciding to invest in yourself, in your personal growth, like all of us here, for the benefit of ourselves and people around us. And thank you for joining me in our masterclass in celebration of the National Mentoring Day. We already had a wonderful class at 1 o'clock UK time on the difference between mentoring and coaching. And my name is Catalina Flore. I'm your host, and I'm based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I'm a fellow coach and an executive coach and leadership development training with IAPC&M. And happy National Mentoring Day. We are proud to support this important celebration and the incredible power of mentorship. And we have this complimentary class with a wonderful lady that is very busy, and we are so lucky to have her here and to catch her between meetings. So we had a little bit of a technological gap, but you know, we love technology and technology loves us, and it's all good. It's wonderful to have you here. So please don't miss this opportunity to celebrate and elevate your understanding of mentoring. And we also have a special gift for those of you that want to add mentoring to your accreditation, and stay tuned. We'll let you know. Please feel free to let us know where you're calling from. And this masterclass is recorded, so please mute but leave your video on so our speaker can see you. And now I invite to grab your pen and paper and sit back and be present and take lots of notes, and whatever experience our guests will get you through. And please use the chat box for questions, and we will have 45 minutes of discussion with Kerrie and 15 minutes Q&A, unless Kerrie will prefer to have a conversation at some point. We're gonna do everything to make it worthwhile for you. So a little bit about our wonderful guests here. So Kerrie Dorman has nearly 20 years of experience in the mentoring world. And this follows 12 years of entrepreneurial life that included 6 businesses. And she focused on the importance of healthy, effective communication at the owner, at the executive and board levels. And because she believes how we communicate is directly linked to the bottom line, because when carried out well with the correct dose of experience and empathy and foresight, it breeds engaged and happy, productive teams. And she's a very complex woman, very interesting woman. And a fun fact about her, you know, one of her previous businesses was wine bars. And she had a lot of fun despite the hard work, and saw all sorts. Can you tell us a little bit more? What do you mean by that? What did you see? All sorts.
Wine bar owner. That's well, I think my point was that it was a very relaxed, fun atmosphere, and we had a lot of couples. Both venues actually were known as a bit of a pickup joint and safe places for both men and women to go without just feeling comfy. And we had about 15 weddings, people who met in the bars and got together and got married. And actually, what was really cool was about 6 years ago, I was at a sports celebration dinner for my eldest son's school. And a lady was standing next to me at the bar, and she said, "Oh, you're the wine bar lady." And I said, "Yes, that's right." And she said, "I just want to let you know that I met my husband in one of your bars, and we got married, and we now have 3 children at the school."
Here we go. That's so, you know, this is the effect you have on people, Kerrie, you know. And to get smoothly into our topic for today, you know, I was listening to the radio just a couple of hours ago, and it was very interesting that the discussion was between the host, a gentleman, with a psychologist, and it was over the effect of moving the clock backwards on our system, on our body. What does it do to our body? And she asked the gentleman, well, and how did you experience this? Were you aware of any changes? And so, oh, no, nothing happened to me. And then she started very gracefully to talk and ask some questions, and I could hear how he said, oh, I didn't think about this. And he was becoming more aware, which we are going into our discussion today. You're gonna create an experience, right? How aware are we, and how do we know? So without further ado, you take it over. Here you go, Kerrie. Thank you so much. I know how busy you are. So I'm glad that I could catch you in between your meetings, even if we don't have the perfect light. Who cares about the perfect light? We have you here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That is an incredibly warm welcome, I have to say, Catalina. I'm much appreciated. So just as a bit of an explanation, myself and IT don't get on very well, and normally when I am delivering on one of these wonderful webinars, something goes wrong. So indeed, today something has gone wrong. My main PC with all my slides has gone down and refuses to connect to the internet. So I have the job of describing to you what is on the slide before I go into the actual content. And I have to say that actually my slides are just visuals. There's never any writing. So you're not missing out on anything in terms of content over and above what I actually have to say. So I'll describe the slide. So on my first slide, I have the IAPC&M logo with I'm an accredited fellow mentor, and which I'm very proud of. And then I have the ABM logo, which is the Association of Business Mentors, which is the association that I founded. And I have the logo of National Mentoring Day, because as Catalina said earlier, it is that today. So happy Mentoring Day, National Mentoring Day. Everybody. Yeah, there's been loads of stuff going on LinkedIn, and it's been very, very exciting. And I have to say that I was there at the launch night of National Mentoring Day 10 years ago, and it was at Rockstar Mentoring offices, and it was really great. And I think Chelsea Baker's done an amazing job to get it where it is today, because it is truly, truly global, which is fantastic. So good on her. Okay, so awareness. The reason why I chose awareness today is because what Catalina was reading out earlier, I truly believe, and this is statistically proven, but I don't have a source right now, that the more aware we are of ourselves and other people and the environment that we create when we are communicating with other people, if we get it right and we truly are aware of ourselves, the other person and the environment, then the communication, the effective communication increases threefold. When we communicate well, the other person feels valued, and we get to the point that we're trying to get to, which means that we are far more productive, and that can actually have a beneficial effect straight to the bottom line. However, so many people feel that they have wonderful awareness levels. In fact, I was going to ask who thinks that they are, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being highly effective and aware, where would people be? But I can't actually see that, can I? No. Anyway, so my second slide is...
And Kerrie, I have to be honest, I think that I'm an aware person, and sometimes my husband says that I'm not. So could it be context related sometimes? Well, it's sometimes with my husband, I'm not aware. Let's put it this way, because we've been married for 26 years. So yes.
Yes, good point. Okay, so I went on to ChatGPT and asked for a definition of awareness,
Yeah.
because we all have our own definition, and that's where the disparity comes and the grey ekes in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I really liked this definition, so I'm going to read it out. Effective awareness can be defined as the ability to accurately perceive, understand, and appropriately respond to what is happening within yourself and around you, including people, situations, and environments, in a thoughtful and informed way.
Mm.
I thought that summed it up very nicely. So obviously, husband and wife awareness is an interesting slant.
Here we
But
go.
it's down to being
learn.
curious to find out what awareness means to the other person.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. And that's what we're going to explore today. So my next slide is about the questions. I have some questions for our participants, and it would be best to write these down and think about them, reflect on them, and perhaps answer them a little bit later.
And that's great, because we're going to have lots of people watching the recording, so that's great.
Okay, so question number 1. When was the last time you thought of a cause of a particular reaction? So when someone's reacted in a way that you weren't expecting them to, when was the last time you actually thought about what that cause can be? Because we're very quick to judge and come to a conclusion without actually thinking about it. Second question, when was the last time you thought about how you came across in a particular situation? And the third question, excuse me, when was the last time you had a bit of an aha moment about a situation or a relationship? So actually, Catalina, I do have an example here, which includes my husband.
Oh, really? Now let's...
I want to share, because it was indeed a real light bulb moment. So I was on another webinar, and there was a fab presenter going into 4 different types of personalities. So there's all sorts of tools out there that we can use. And this was based around colors. And she was describing a particular situation with a CEO and his executive assistant who had broken her arm. Obviously, she didn't want to break her arm, but all he wanted to know was when she was going to be able to be back at work in full capacity. Mm-hmm. And she was really upset that he hadn't asked about how she was, how did it happen, So she was having a bit of a mentoring session, actually, and she said, I just can't believe that, he's been so thoughtless. But actually, it transpires that he was a blue profile, which means mm-hmm. that he is just detail orientated. He just needed the detail. Didn't mean that he didn't care. He just needed that detail. And so in order for him to, so when he got the detail from her, he was then able to plan what he was going to do and how he was going to manage until she got back. So my husband is a blue, and he is incredibly detail orientated. But I didn't realize that this was a profile of his until I was listening to this website, to this webinar. I am not a blue. I think I came out as a red stroke yellow. So I don't do detail. I like to look at the big picture, give things a go. If sometimes you sink, sometimes you swim, and that's the way it is for me. But he constantly asks me questions about detail, and up until this point, it used to really frustrate me, and I just used to say, it's just happening because it's happening. But now I understand he just needs a little bit of detail. I am prepared when I'm talking to him that when he does ask me those questions about the minutiae, I come back with as much detail as I possibly can. And then I say to him, I have no more detail. And now our conversations are calm. I don't get frustrated because I'm now aware of his particular personality trait. And he's more aware of mine because the conversation went both ways. So I just thought that was a really wonderful point of becoming aware of someone else and how they operate.
So curiosity teaches us a lot. Instead of jumping to judging somebody, being curious.
Exactly. Be curious. And that leads me nicely on to the 3 core competencies at the Association of Business Mentors. The first core competency is awareness of self, mentee, and environment. So that's really what we're talking about here. The second one is curious questioning to gain insight. And the third one is listening to learn.
Listening to learn. I love this.
Listening to learn, because as we know, it's very prevalent that people just listen until they can talk again. And that can be bred for a whole reasons of scenarios. They're desperate to be heard. They have a point that they want to make. Sometimes it's born out of insecurity that they just need to fill a gap. And that's the other thing, is embracing silence. We need to embrace the silence in order to just keep calm, be curious, yes, listen, and be aware. Yeah, so we actually have 6 core competencies at the ABM, but they are my top 3 that I like to talk about. So my next slide is a bit of a scale. And the point of the scale is that there's so much going on when we are listening and trying to be aware because of all sorts of various reasons. So we hear something and we, as an individual, unique person, will encode it, bring it on, and then we will digest it. And then we will try and understand what that means. And then we will make a decision as to what we're going to do with that information. So there's lots of stages. And actually, the average statistic, because again, there's quite a few floating around out there, the average statistic is that we only take on board 22% of what we're actually hearing, which is quite shocking, really, isn't it, when you think about it? But that's down to all sorts of things, which we'll come on to in just a minute. But the point is that we have to be aware of how we digest information and what we do with that in order to feed our awareness abilities. So my next slide has an onion on it. And this onion is about, well, actually, I borrowed it from Julie Starr. I don't know if any of you have come across her. She's the author of the Mentoring Manual, which is one of my Bibles. I love it because it incorporates workplace mentoring, business mentoring, and it has lots of case studies and examples, and it just resonates with me. All along my mentoring journey, it's resonated with me. So anyway, she was a keynote speaker at one of our conferences at the ABM, and she was talking about that we are like onions. And when we are mentoring and coaching, it's all about unlayering and getting down to the nub of the onion, which is where the good stuff really happens. And I was watching Shrek. Most of you must have come across Shrek. He's a big green ogre, and there's about 3 movies out there that's all about Shrek. And one of the scenes in Shrek is where he is walking along with his friend Donkey. And he says to Donkey, who's getting very frustrated, and he says to Donkey, "Ogres are like onions." And Donkey says, "Yes, you stink and you make people cry." And Shrek says, "No, we have layers." And what he was trying to say was that underneath all his ogre-ness, he's just a chap, and he's just trying to get through every day just like the rest of us. And that just brought the whole onion analogy home for me. So I was going to run a little bit of an interactive session to put people into Zoom rooms, but we're not going to do that now because I didn't quite appreciate the dynamics. But in the Zoom room, I was going to get people to share a layer, to delayer and share something about themselves that would create an awareness piece, or something that they've realized about themselves that has increased their own awareness. Maybe a little bit like the husband story. And so, excuse me, I don't know why I've got this cough. So because we can't do that, I'm going to ask you, Dawn, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little something with us about you that would increase our awareness about you yourself. Would you mind doing that?
That's fine. So for me to share something, if I understand correctly, that perhaps people don't know about me.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm a lifelong veggie, passionate about animal rights and welfare. So I'm a veggie, come vegan for 30 odd years, through humanitarian reasons as well as spiritual reasons.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. Very good. And Catalina, would you mind sharing something with us to unlayer?
Yes, I have 7 nationalities in my close family, 3 in my blood. So it's a beautiful opportunity to expand my awareness on how to best communicate, connect, and understand the model of the world of the people in order to enter conversation and influence and be influenced.
That is fascinating. So you have 7 different cultures.
Nationalities, yeah.
Nationalities. So, but with those different nationalities will be different cultural nuances.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why, interesting enough, I chose a profession that is very international. Oh.
Yeah. Fantastic. So I'm fascinated with what different cultures can bring to the table in terms of awareness, because understanding where people's beliefs and experiences, sometimes religious, sometimes not, where it all comes and stems from, is a huge awareness piece. And that's incredibly rich for you, Catalina.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. Very good. Well, I'm going to share something about me. I normally kick off the exercise with this. And so I have one of the rare blood groups. And because of that, I'm constantly being asked to give blood because they run out. And I was giving blood about, I don't know, 6 years ago, let's say. And the nurse came over and she checked the bag. And she said to me, "You have special blood." And I said, "Well, actually, I think it's just one of the rare blood groups." And she said, "No." She said, "It goes to the neonatal clinic. So it goes to save the babies." So I was like, oh my God, that's absolutely amazing. I was like, that's being very, very maternal. So interestingly, I was sharing this with a group of Portuguese MBA executives, and who liked a bit of a challenge, and one of them said to me, "Okay, that's a really nice story, Kerrie. What does it do to feed my awareness of you in a business sense?" I thought, "Oh, that's an exceptionally good question." So I said, "Well, firstly, it tells you that I'm a giver. I give blood regularly, so that's one thing. Secondly, it shows you that I'm extremely maternal, which can be dangerous in a business experience, in a business world. And thirdly, I can't remember actually what I said for the third one. But anyway, so he then picked up on the whole maternal thing, and it led us into this wonderful conversation about the fact that in business and in mentoring and coaching, we are professionals. We don't go into parent mode. And actually a lot of people as a default will do that when they're feeling insecure, out of their comfort zone, not quite sure about the situation, they don't know the right path to take. And so being aware of that people can wind in and out of that mode is actually quite important and will feed awareness levels.
Right. So when do we leave from an interaction from a equal posture, adult to adult, and we move into parenting or child based on how we are triggered or not, and based on our development? Is this what you mean for our audience?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So in the mentoring and coaching world, we are aware of this syndrome, so we can bring it back. We can go back to our ground rules and our boundaries and bring the relationship back to where it should be, on an equal footing, professional to professional, adult to adult. But often in the workplace, if someone does not have a mentor or coach, they are unaware of this, and it sadly is not rare. So that's a big awareness piece for me.
Yeah.
Okay, how are we doing? So my next slide has 5 different methods of communication on it. So the first one, top left, is listening. Then it goes over to speaking. Then we have reading. Then we have body language. And then we have writing. And my question is, which one is the most important to feed awareness? So we have listening, reading, speaking, body language, and writing. Which one is the most important? Do either of you want to give that a go?
Yes. Well, I think they're all important, and I think that listening is crucial, because listening can come, before we speak, let's listen internally and externally as well to learn something. Body language is very important. So yeah, we can go in different directions, but I think listening is very, very important to the signals.
Yeah, and Dawn agrees with that. But my next slide shows how they rely on each other equally. They are all just as important as each other, because you could be an amazing listener, but if you can't articulate what you hear, then it's pointless. And so that it's this nice slide that feeds all into each other. And body language, people can curtail their body language. People learn not how to read it properly. If you're reading, you can misconstrue. I mean, the amount of misconstrued emails that go every day. In fact, I have a stat for this somewhere, and it was something like 6 billion emails are sent daily. 3 billion, so that's half, are misconstrued due to tone and method of writing. That's a lot of missed pointers, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
So my next slide does actually have some words on it. Excuse me. And it says, what else can get in the way? What else can get in the way of communication that feeds our awareness levels? Do you want to have a stab?
Okay, so what else can get in the way of communication?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else can get in the way?
Well, many things, like, for instance, different agendas, different inner filters that we have. Sometimes it's really cool to see two people running their own conversation, but they were supposed to be in the conversation with each other, but there are three conversations taking place, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And Dawn agrees with that. Our judgment, beliefs, the self-talk,
yeah,
perception of what we see and hear. Yes, indeed, indeed. So the biggest one for me, this is a personal, the biggest one for me is ego. I come across a lot of ego in the mentoring world, in the corporate world, in the SME world. It is everywhere. And actually, one of the key catalysts for me founding the Association of Business Mentors in the first place was that I was on a government-funded project with a lot of other mentors who had actually never run a business before. So that was very irritating to start with, but whose ego was so big that they enjoyed putting down and shredding these mentees who were motivated and enthusiastic to get their businesses off the ground. And having started more than several businesses, and some had gone terribly wrong and some had gone okay. I felt for these business owners, and I just thought, this is absolutely no way to be mentoring and to create the nourishment that these new guys had needed in order to give them the best foot forward. So that was one of the big points for me. So ego gets in the way. And then we have unconscious bias, which both of you touched on. Our biases, naturally, it's human. And to be aware of our own biases takes a lot of work. And then we have time. Lots of people are very busy and will not take the time to soak in the environment where the other person's coming from. In fact, when I'm running actual training sessions, I talk about the mentoring door. And I liken it to one of the the security zappers in an airport where it goes like this. You're standing in the middle and it goes. So I liken the mentoring door, which is where you are entering into a mentoring session, just to take a couple of minutes. You zap whatever's been going on that day, whatever's happening at home, detailed orientated husbands, all of that. You leave it all behind and you just take the time to turn up and be present. And I love the fact that, Catalina, you mentioned that early when you kicked off. Be present. We're all busy and everybody wants to share, but if you don't turn up and actually soak it all in and be aware, then it's a discourtesy, isn't it, to the person that you're with.
Yeah, presence is the greatest present, right?
Sorry,
our presence is the greatest present we can give to somebody.
I love that. Our presence is the greatest present. Yes. And we can only listen and be aware and learn and be curious if we are present. And that's being there, giving the time and show appreciation.
Yeah.
So the other one is culture. Culture can get in the way. If we don't understand somebody else's culture and we don't give the time to explain our own, then that also can cause a barrier to pure awareness.
Yes, absolutely.
And you must know this firsthand. Yes. How do you have any tips for that, Catalina, when is it just being aware of cultures? Are you curious and ask questions? How does it work?
I think curiosity is very, very important. And in the same time, you know, we get to be very judgmental. So being aware, when do we get judgmental? Is this the right place to analyze, or is this the right place to be curious? That's very important. Being empathic, you know, having developing the emotional intelligence. I think it's very important to help us in getting to know the model of other people, the model of functioning of other people, so we can understand them better, understand ourselves, and create something together. Yeah. And there are many different things. I would say, you know, work your shit, if I may say so, on now. But the more, you know, we are not dragged from things, the more present we are. And I think this is very, very important. And from that, from presence, stems curiosity. And I mean, Dawn, I know that she's among many things that she is, but it's also a Buddhist meditator, and she teaches meditation. And yeah, be present and mindfulness, and be present with an attitude of non-judgment and curiosity, right? That's crucial. Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely, very nicely put. The other thing I just want to point out here is that a lot of people are afraid to be curious because they feel that asking those particular questions may be offensive, they don't know. So yeah, it's gentle curiosity, isn't it? If you are unsure, then ask.
Yeah.
It's that gentle curiosity and just having the respect that each and every culture deserves.
Oh, may I ask a question, Kerrie?
Of course.
So, you know, we are talking about curiosity, which is very important. And then you teach, you know, coaches as well. When the curiosity is becoming intrusion, and how can we be aware of that line where, you know, being curious is very important. So moving from fear, oh, I shouldn't ask a question, moving into curiosity, and then intrusion. So overly doing curiosity.
That's a great question. So it's, and you know, and there's a fine line that is different for every single individual person, because what might be intrusive for me may not be intrusive for you. So when we are setting our ground rules and our structure at the very beginning of our mentoring and coaching relationships, this is where we set out our stall. And so with me, I'm extremely curious. I think it helps that I'm very, very nosy. So I explain at the very beginning that I am incredibly curious, and that I will be asking questions, and that if at any time I make if I ask an uncomfortable question, that I ask my mentee to let me know that. I also set a boundary in terms of how personal we get. And if my mentee is from a culture that I know nothing about, then I ask them to share with me the key 3 things about that culture in order for me to learn and be aware as to what's acceptable to ask and what's not. So I invite them to be as open as possible right at the very beginning.
Okay.
But it's a great question. And again, it's absolutely unique. So every coaching and mentoring relationship is completely unique from the other, because we're all very different. So it's just being aware of that.
So just as we said in our previous masterclass, contracting, Kerrie, is everything. It is the start of managing boundaries, expectations, etc. And it's a shame in a way we don't have that in our personal relationships, because when you were talking, it reminded me of the fact that even though I was brought up in Germany and I live in France and Spain, I was probably, people would say I'm very British in the fact that I'm not nosy. That's what I think of being too curious, is nosy. My Dutch friend is what I would say is very nosy and crosses the line constantly. Whereas my Brazilian friend said, oh, no, it's fine. Ask away. You know, so if the 3 of us are together, a Dutch, a Brazilian and me, I'm like overstimulated by all the personal questions. and my Brazilian friend thinks they're fine. No problem at all. So
well, that's the perfect example. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. And I'm really sorry that I couldn't make the previous session on the difference between coaching and mentoring, because it's the question I'm asked the most. However, contracting, it is very, very important to get it right at the very beginning. And it would be interesting, isn't it, if we introduce that into our personal lives? Yeah. I mean, how I didn't know that my husband was a detailed person after 15 years, I'm not quite sure, but there we go. There we go.
Well, if I can share something else.
Please.
My husband and I have been married about 30 years by this time. He's just waving at me. It's time to go. And we read the book, The 5 Languages of Love. And we suddenly understood why we were miscommunicating all the time, because I was of service and he was affirmation. And once we click, I mean, we've 30 years marriage, very, very good relationship on the whole. But the last 5 years have been so much better because we now understand each other. So wouldn't you thought we'd have got it sooner? So that was my aha moment.
Oh, lovely. Well, I feel rest assured that I'm not the only one.
Yeah, so creating clarity, you know, whatever you call it, rules of engagement, or you call them, you know, other words, whatever, but it's important to know, you know, how are we going to navigate this together? So that's a good one.
Yeah, brilliant. Do you have to go, Dawn?
5 minutes, I think. So I said I'd pass on Nikki's regards. So she said she was really sorry she couldn't attend your masterclass, and it's ages since she spoke to you. Sends her regards, but you can listen to each other's recordings.
Yeah, indeed. Right.
So we have 15 more minutes, Kerrie. So we do it whatever you want. We can do Q&A, or you want more presentation, or the free format, whatever works. We get lots of value.
Great, thank you. So my next slide is a snapshot of Johari's window, which I know you will all have come across. And I love it because it just really signifies what is going on in a lot of environments, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whether it's in the mentoring coaching. But I have an example, because I was working with a small senior leadership team a couple of years back, and I just wanted to explain, because it just brings it to life. So we have top left, we have open self, and I've just got my little notes here to make sure I remember. Yes, so there was one gentleman and 3 ladies, and so open self, known to both self and others, was the fact that the gentleman was clever. He was really bright, switched on, and he knew that, they knew that, everybody knew he was clever. And just to give a bit of context here, he had been promoted to CEO sort of overnight, really, because he was just really on it, and the founder thought that he was the perfect one for the job. So everybody knows he's clever. So blind self, unnoticed by self but known to others, he didn't realize that this perception of him created a barrier to the 3 other members of the senior leadership team to approach him. They felt a little bit out of their comfort zone, a bit disconcerted. They thought that he would probably dismiss their questions and their slants, but he didn't realize that that's how they perceived him, and it was a big barrier. And hidden self, known to self but not to others, he knew that the lack of process in promoting him to CEO was driving him a bit crazy, because he just felt that it wasn't fair, and he was a very fair person. But no one else realized that, because he'd never voiced it. So what we unearthed in this lovely session was that he didn't realize the way that he came across. He shared with them the fact that he was frustrated with the process. The founder then explained, which was not known to anybody else, all the reasons why he was made CEO. And from then on, they communicated in this wonderful way because they were then aware of all these missing bits in the senior leadership communication relationship. And it was just a great example of this. And unless we sit down with the people that we are working with and go through this process, we won't be aware, because some people will be out of their comfort zone, too afraid. The ego might come into play for all the things that we've already covered. And so exercises like this and literally going through Johari's window can really help and break down barriers and gel teams. So that was, I use it a lot, but that particular example was just nailed it for me. So I was going to ask if anybody had any Johari window examples. Actually, do either of you two have any Johari window examples?
Oh, I have 3 children, and especially teenagers, they love to help us get to know what we don't know. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
And I think, and one of the greatest gifts for me personally is putting the hat of curiosity and accepting, their point of view. And I learn a lot about myself. So this is, it happens. I'm very open to this, to learn from them. Yes. So
Yeah.
absolutely. What am I not seeing? That's one question that I quite often ask myself. What am I not seeing about myself or about, my contribution to something? And it
Yes,
helps me in opening my thinking and expanding my awareness.
That is a great question, and I often ask my mentees, tell me what you see, because often we will have interpreted something just slightly different, because we're all different, and that's just the natural way of doing it. So my question, very similar to you, Catalina, you asking yourself, I should ask myself that too, actually, but I often ask my mentees, tell me what you see, describe it. And that's the way that I feel that we're constantly checking in on each other.
And because you brought the thing with your husband with talking at helicopter level, concepts versus talking in details. You see a lot in corporations, right, Kerrie? I work a lot with executives. Sometimes the conversation are like this. One, they talk at a level of concepts, principles, and that the others talk at the level of details. And then the conversation, it's not going anymore. And getting awareness to bring people, to level up the people, right? Can, and increase their awareness, like you did with your husband, can break through, right? In the efficiency of the meeting and effectiveness of the meeting.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, and that's where the breakthroughs and the and breaking down those barriers actually happen. Is by often having outside eyes, seeing they're going on these different tangents and bringing them down to me.
Right.
Yeah, there are some wonderful aha moments in there. Okay, so how are we doing? Right, my next slide is again 3 visuals. This is increasing our awareness. So now hopefully we are going to be just a little bit more aware of ourselves, the people that we work with, and the environments that we create, and how we digest information to make sure that we see what they're seeing. And the third one is R and R. Do you want to have a stab at what I mean by that, R and R? It's not rest and recuperation, by the way.
No, can you explain it? R and R?
It's reiteration and reflection.
Oh, The iteration and reflection. Okay.
Yes. So I just wanted to hone down on this point, was when I did a bit of work with Jonathan Farl. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but he used to finish our conversations by almost bullet pointing everything that we had just discussed in the conversation. And it was so annoying. I just found it really, really annoying because, well, A, it's detail, and that's not my style. And I just used to say, yes, 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 yep, great, 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 just wanting to sort of finish the conversation and get on with it. However, throughout the project, as we went along, I realized that what was happening was that at the end of each conversation, when he reiterated, was that we were exactly on the same page. So it was crystal clear as to what both of us needed to go and do, and why, and what we needed to bring back to the table. So that's where the reiteration comes from. And then the reflection is making sure that we reflect on the whys, how we are using the information to increase our awareness, and just general reflection and mediation. Anyway, Dawn, I know you're a big promoter of this, but unless we reflect, we never truly learn, do we? Absolutely. It's such an important time. It's such an important aspect of what we do, and not just in the workplace, everywhere. Reflection.
Yeah.
And
so reflection deepens our awareness, right? That's very, very important. And are there any other habits or questions or reflective practices that you would like to share, recommend to our audience right now?
Practices. So for me personally, journaling, I love a bit of a journal, and I encourage mentors and when I'm running a mentoring program, I encourage them to keep journals so that they can follow their journal. It's not something there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very, very healthy. But there's all sorts of different ways you can reflect, and everybody again is unique and will be comfortable doing it in different ways. I love a jot. Other people might like to go for walks and just think about things. Other people might use their supervision or mentoring to reflect. Again, right. You know, that there's different ways, but it is highly important. Which brings me now to my last slide. And on this slide, actually, it sort of almost crosses over what you were saying, Kathleen. And what did I see? It's a picture of an eyeball. And it is about what you're not seeing. And how do you know how aware you are? How do we know? So I'm going to ask you, how do we know? How do you know?
You ask us. So it can be an internal and external stimuli, right? So absolutely, I'm a big proponent of developing the internal world of sensation and getting in touch with my body to know I have certain sensations that let me know that I'm very present and I'm tuning in. But it's also the external environment that feeds me into my functioning, let's put it this way. Yeah, so we have, and I believe very much we have also, the more developed we are, the more we heal ourselves on our path and integrate, the more we are an integrated human being, the more we will just know there is an internal knownness of awareness.
Yeah,
there are a couple of things.
Thank you. Dawn, how do you know?
How do I know I know? Well, the older I'm getting, the more I realise I don't know very much at all.
Don't believe that.
So I think, again, that's the ego thing, isn't it? But one of the things I practice is Vipassana, which is silent meditation on retreat. And that reminds me to communicate with my body, because quite often I will know something in my body. whether it's anger, whether it's fear, whatever. And the more we know ourselves, that self-mastery, the more we can sense in our body that we think such and such is going to happen, and we can get in tune with the mind-body connection that bit faster every single time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love it. So I'm going to finish off with, how do we know? We only know by asking. We can ask people that we are working with, communicating with, have I got this right? Am I seeing what you're seeing? Am I missing anything? So it's good to ask ourselves those things, but it's equally as important to ask other people.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. And this was very enlightening, and I really love to expand my own awareness. And I would like a couple of things when we wrap this up for people, you know, to take a few seconds and write in their CPD, you know, what is one thing that, you know, there are many things probably, but one thing that stick with them, and one learning, and how they are going to implement it. That's very important, because we don't leave this beautiful session without taking something with us forward, right, to help us increase our life. That's number one. I kept writing a lot, so I have my learnings here. And the second important piece, I was talking about a gift at the beginning of our session, you know, because we want to take this opportunity to celebrate and elevate your understanding of mentoring. So we have these special gifts for those of you who want to add mentoring to your accreditation. So IAPC&M coaches can add mentoring accreditation to their professional evidence portfolio at a 50% discount price of £150. And most probably this is the last year that will be so low. And this offer is valid until the end of October 2025. And you also have 12 months to complete the accreditation process, because you need to put in the work, as we say. So if you want to kick up the start 2026 by offering mentoring and, you know, expanding yourself, because you do it first for yourself, but you might help others at a deeper level and earn more money. Yoo-hoo, good for you. Now it's the best time to do it. So you have £150 and go to IAPC&M and find all the information there. And with this, I am very grateful for being able to be your host, Kerrie, today, and to learn from you, and also to the other people present with us live, or Dawn and the others, Heather and the other people, and all of you that watched us live on different platforms. Thank you very much. And for those of you who are watching the recordings, enjoying, rewind and go to different places, and because the repetition is mother of skills, and this is how we serve ourselves and life better, by improving and growing and so on. So I'm